What's up guys, Marvin here. Welcome back to another video. So what's the best business model to go into within Amazon FBA? Is it retail and online arbitrage? Is it private label? Or is it wholesale? So I know there's a lot of new people trying to get into the Amazon FBA business model, and I wish there was a video like this when I first started out, breaking down what is the riskiest model to go into. Which business model has the most risk involved? So like I said, I wish there was a video like this when I first started out so that I could kind of evaluate which business model I wanted to go into. So we're gonna break this down into 4 risk factors. First one's gonna be money invested. How much risk do you have based off of the money that you're investing? The second risk factor is going to be shipping. The third risk factor is going to be competition. And then the fourth risk factor is going to be inventory risk, which I will break down and tell you what I mean when we get to it. So you're gonna wanna stay until the end to determine which model is going to be the best for you to go into. So if you guys do find my videos helpful and you enjoy watching them, then gently tap that like button so I can get a little boost within the YouTube algorithm so the channel can grow and more people can watch. Now, by no means is this me bashing any of the business models. I think they all have their place and each business model might be attractive to different people. Realistically, these are just the facts as they are within each business model. A lot of people don't want to talk about these facts, but this is the reality you're going to face going into each business model. So then you can determine which one is going to be the best for you. So let me give you a very quick, brief overview of what each business model is. And if you need a more detailed guide of each business model, then you're gonna wanna watch the video on the screen, which I break down everything that you need to know of each one. But for the sake of this video, we're just gonna make it very, very brief. So arbitrage, you are just going to stores, retail stores, or online websites of those stores and buying inventory, sending them to the Amazon warehouse. With private label, you are working with a manufacturer overseas and then shipping that product to the Amazon warehouse here in the US. With wholesale, you are dealing with US based suppliers that sell major brands or smaller brands, and then you're shipping those supplies depending on the products that you're buying to the Amazon warehouse here in the US as well. All right, so let's get started. So the first risk factor is money invested. How much risk is involved with each one of these business models? Each one of these business models also requires different amounts of money. So right off the bat, arbitrage is going to be the least risky, solely based off of the amount of money you're going to invest. Because if you are only investing $100 or $200, then your risk factor is going to be very low, because if you lose that money, you're not losing very much. Now, to make this battle between private label and wholesale fair, we're going to say the money invested for each one of these business models is $2,000. So now that everything is fair, let's go off of just the products. Private label will never be as low risk as wholesale. And that is because private label entails a lot of guesswork. They're educated guesses based off of the market that you're trying to get into, based off of the other competitors. But at the end of the day, you're still guessing. Regardless of how educated that guess is, you will never have as much solid data as you will in wholesale. Because with arbitrage and with wholesale, we're going off of the keeper graph. We have the data going back 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, the life of that product. We have that solid data. So private label, as far as choosing a product with our money that we are investing, will never be as low risk as wholesale or arbitrage, because we have the numbers. We have that solid data. There's no guesswork here. We just have to determine how many units we're going to want based off of the data we already have. So as far as money invested, I would say private label is the most risky. And I would say that wholesale is second, mainly based because you're investing more than you are with arbitrage, but you're going off of the exact same data. The only difference is the money you're putting in. All right, so the second risk factor is shipping. Shipping is also a risk. You do not want to be shipping products and losing inventory before it even gets to the Amazon warehouse. So this is also a risk factor we have to take into account. Now let's start from bottom to the top. Which is the most risk? Now I would have to say who holds the most risk is the one who is buying inventory overseas, shipping that inventory via sea or air, passing through customs, an additional carrier, picking up that product, and then shipping it the rest of the way to the Amazon warehouse. I believe that model is the most risky based off of all of the moving parts that have to be aligned in order for you to successfully get that product into your Amazon warehouse and into your account. There's a lot of things that can go wrong here. The shipment can be delayed. Sea shipping already takes a very long time, or the shipment is lost, or customs holds it and now you have another issue of not being able to get that inventory even though it wasn't lost. And let's say you do get your money refunded. If there are any of these issues that happen, okay, you got your money refunded, but now you have to start all over again from scratch and then still go through that shipping process. So that process, if you aren't aware, is private label, and I would say hands down it is the most risky when it comes to shipping. Now the second most risky I would have to say is arbitrage, mainly based off of you will not be sending your arbitrage shipments directly from, let's say you bought them from Walmart.com. You will not be sending them directly from Walmart.com to the Amazon warehouse. You will either need to go through a prep center or you will need to prep them yourselves. And that means there are more people touching that product. There are more chances of something going wrong with that shipment. Either your prep center does something wrong and Amazon, punches you for it, or you do not have an expert level understanding of Amazon's policies and procedures when it comes to shipping those products out. So there are just more chances of things going wrong. So I'd have to say arbitrage takes second place here, and wholesale takes first as far as least risk, because you are dealing with US suppliers who you place an order with, and then that US supplier will send it to their shipping department, who will ship it out directly to Amazon, and then Amazon will prep it for you. You do not have to touch it. You do not have to send it out anywhere else. Amazon's going to prep it, so it's going to be 100% correct. All right, so now let's get into competition. Competition is a real risk depending on what model you're going into. There are going to be different kind of competitors that you're dealing with each one of these business models. So as far as competition goes, I would have to say arbitrage has the most risk when it comes to competition, mainly based off of the inexperienced sellers that do come on to Amazon FBA and try to sell through arbitrage. Because there's such a low barrier of entry, anybody can come onto the platform and just start selling whatever they want. But that leads to a lot of inexperienced sellers who are trying to source from the same place. Everybody's going to Walmart, everybody's going to Target, everybody's going to clearance aisles. So if you're a brand new seller who is very inexperienced, and you're dealing with a lot of people that are as inexperienced as you, there's going to be a lot of races to the bottom. There's going to be a lot of people trying to control the buy box regardless if they take a loss, regardless of how low that product goes, because they either get scared that they're going to lose their money or they get greedy and they want to hold everything. Now this can be avoided if you're a more experienced seller, but this list is catered to beginners who are barely going to start coming into Amazon FBA, and they want to know which is the riskiest and what you're going to run into, because again, these are the facts. These are the things you're going to run into. Now with private label, although you're not dealing with direct competitors as far as on your same listing, unless you're dealing with hijackers who are stealing your sales, but we're going to take hijackers out of the equation. We're just dealing with competitors, right? So you're not dealing with the same level of competitors because they're not on your listing. You're mostly dealing with a saturation of market. You're dealing with all of these other sellers trying to make the same changes you did, if you made any changes at all, or selling the same exact product because nobody differentiated. So that market is starting to get saturated more so than just your listing is getting saturated, which is a huge problem in itself, because that could lead that product to be not profitable anymore. And if that product becomes unprofitable and you only have one product, that's a huge risk. So I would have to put private label in second. And again, I'm not trying to bash private label. These are the facts. If anybody wants to argue with me, they're more than able to in the comment section, but these are the facts. Not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't make money with private label. You definitely can. But these are the facts as far as risk factors go. Now, first place is going to be wholesale, and the reason I put it in first place is because you're dealing with competitors on your same listing. But because we are all doing wholesale, you're dealing with more experienced sellers who understand this isn't just a quick buck, this is a business. So they want to get the most profit as possible. You do deal with sellers that come on and maybe drop the price, or you might deal with one or two sellers that drop the price. But if you hold them out, usually it will come back up. And usually that doesn't happen that often, not nearly as often as arbitrage. So I would have to put wholesale, as far as competition goes, into the least risky, because there are just more experienced sellers who know what they're doing and aren't going to be dropping the price. All right, so the fourth risk factor is inventory risk. What I mean by inventory risk is if a product that you are selling, let's say your best selling product, were to stop sales altogether. Either that product has run its course and it is no longer getting sales, or let's say Amazon decided to make that category gated like they did with the toy category, and now you can't sell your most profitable product. Or let's just say competition got too much and that product's just not selling anymore, right? So we're going to make a hypothetical situation where that product is no longer selling, your best selling product. So if you are familiar with private label, you're going to know this is the most risk involved, because you're building your business off of the back of one product. So if that product were to cease to exist, if that product were to cease to see any more sales whatsoever, your business is gone. You're starting all the way over from scratch, going through the product research phase, paying your supplier in China, and then shipping it out to the US again, going through that whole process again, going through a launch again, going through marketing again, because your business is based off of one product. If you are going to get into private label, just make sure you know what you're doing so that you can prepare for all these things. But this is the facts. You are most likely starting with one product, which means your business is based off of one product. Now, there are going to be those people saying, well, how do these big companies manifest when they're selling one product and they become a brand and they become huge? Chances are, if you're a beginner and this is your first product, you're not going to be making a global changing brand. That's just the facts. Not saying you can't, but chances are you're not going to. Now, who I would say would come in second is Arbitrage. Arbitrage is very diverse. Your account is very diverse as far as how many products you have in inventory. You could have 200 products in inventory, 1,000 products in inventory, but you're only having, 5, 10, 15, 30 items at once because you're not really dealing with replenishable products. So let's say you do lose some inventory. Chances are that product wasn't going to last very long because you only have a limited quantity and you don't have access to it each and every month because you don't deal with replenishable products very often. So with arbitrage, the thing you invest the most is your time. So regardless if you lose a product here or you lose a product there, you are only going to have it for a short amount of time and you are always going to be on the hunt for the next product. Now, in first, as the least risky, I would have to say wholesale. I think a lot of people have to say wholesale if they are familiar with that business model because you are dealing with replenishable products, but not only that, you are dealing with suppliers. We are sourcing for suppliers, not so much for products. So suppliers have tons of products that we can sell. So let's say we do lose our best-selling product, but let's ante up. Let's say we lose half of our inventory. So we're selling 20 units and we lose 10 units and they are all gone and we can no longer sell. Well, that's a very simple fix. Just go to your supplier that you already have and you have a good relationship with, see what products they have, see where you can negotiate, and then start adding that inventory back into your account. So even if we lose 1, 5, 10 products, 50% of our inventory, we're still good because we are sourcing suppliers, not so much products. If you have the supplier that has good products, you can build that business off of just that one supplier. So just to give you a quick recap, as far as money invested, arbitrage is the least risky. And as far as competition, shipping, and inventory risk, wholesale is the least risky in my opinion. Now, by no means am I trying to deter you from any of the business models. If you want to get into arbitrage or if you want to get into private label, then go in and get your hands dirty, try it out. It might be the best fit for you. Wholesale was the best fit for me. It was the simplest, it was the easiest, and I didn't want to have to make listings and run PPC and go out and find products. I just wanted to do it all from my laptop and create a business that I don't have to invest very much time into. So that's what I went. But if you want to market your product or if you want to be on the hunt for the next product every day or every week or every month, then go into whatever business model you want. I'm going to throw up a few channel recommendations if you do want to go into arbitrage and if you do want to go into private label. I watched a few videos from Garrett and he does do a good job with arbitrage, giving you great tips that not a lot of people talk about. And then LuxBiz has a ton of information as far as private label goes. That's somebody who has really built a legitimate huge business around her private label business. So those are just a few channels you can check out. But if you do want to get into wholesale, then consider subscribing because that is what my entire channel is based off of. And if you want a step-by-step guide about wholesale and what you need to go, getting you on the right path, and you're going to want to watch the video on the screen where I break everything down. And if you want to cut your learning curve in half of the time, if not less, then I do have a course linked down below. Students are already finding profitable products and placing their first orders. I'll see you guys in the next video.